On our second piece of lesson 4.5, working with point slope formula, we're going to be changing point slope equations to slope-intercept form. So what you'll be, my learning target for you is that you're going to be able to change an equation written in point slope form into slope-intercept form. Now this will mean us using some of our equation skills. So you're going to be taking an equation that's written like what I have in red here, y, and it's in y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and we want to change it to the slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. Now I'm going to go through a couple examples here, and then I'll give you your assignment is what I want you to do. After that, I will do a third example. Only feel free to stop the video at that point when I give the assignment. If you'd like to watch a third example, you're more than welcome to. If you don't want to, then just stop the video there. All right, so the two examples I have for you as follows. I have one here where it says y plus 6 equals negative 3 times x minus 4. First thing that you want to do, this is a negative 3 outside. We're going to use our distributive property. So I'm going to do negative 3 and times the x and negative 3 times negative 4. I'm not working with the left side of the equation, so y plus 6 just gets written down. And that's going to equal negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. If you're not writing these down with me, please pause the video, copy down example 1, and write this down with me so you have the examples written on your paper. Our next step, and it's actually the only other thing you have to do to turn this equation into a slope-intercept form, is I need to move this 6 away from y. I have to solve for y, so that means get y by itself. Well, in order to solve for y here, I will need to subtract 6 and subtract 6 on both sides using my equation skills. What I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other. And y is now by itself, because the plus 6 and the minus 6, they cancel one another out. The negative 3x is just written down. And now I have 12 minus 6, that's a plus 6. And I now have an equation written in slope-intercept form because it's y equals m is negative 3x plus 6, and that's going to be a b. So I have y equals mx plus b, and I'm done. That's all I need to do. 2 steps, distribute, and then solve for y. Number 2, example 2. I want you to write that down. Pause the video while you're writing it down. Okay, now we'll take a look at how to solve this one. This one has a fraction in it. Over here, I distributed negative 3 to start with. A fraction is a number. I'm going to distribute that to the x, and I'm going to distribute that to 5. So what I do now is at the left side of the equation again is not being worked with, so just write it down. And now I have 1/2 x and 1/2 times 5. 1/2 times 5. So I'm going to take my numerator of 1 times the 5, and I'm going to have plus 5 halves. I'll write it over 2. At this point now, all I have to do is I'm going to solve for y. That means instead of minus 2, I will plus 2 to both sides. And I write down I have y minus 2, so with a plus 2 in it, so it's going to be, whoops, wrong color. So I have y is now solved for, and I put an equal sign because negative 2 plus 2 is 0, which I don't need to write down. I will write down 1/2 x. And I have options at this point. Please note that in my answer key, things will be written in improper fraction form. So let's take a look at the fractions. 5 over 2 plus 2. 5 over 2 plus 2. Well, let's see. If I want to convert 2 into a fraction, I'm going to have to take 2 times, I have to take 2 times 2 over 2, because 2 over 2 equals 1. So where did I get the 2 over 2 from? My denominator is 2. I need to multiply this times 2 over 2. That will tell me how many halves I have to equal 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. So I have 4 halves. So I have 4 halves. So I have 5 halves plus 4 halves. That gives me 9 halves. So I will say plus 9 halves. And I'll leave it in improper form. Another way you possibly, and this is just fine leaving it this way. I also know that sometimes when some of you use a calculator, if your second line looks like this, you may actually write it this way. You can write it this way and it's just fine. Y minus 2 equals 1/2 x. And your calculator you may do 5 times a half, and your calculator just might be giving you this. And that's just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I know you have a fraction, I know you have a decimal, but it's okay. And at the next step, then I would add 2, still add 2. And when I do my work, then I'll say y equals 1/2 x plus 4.5. And if you take a calculator and do the 9 divided by 2, you will also get 4.5. Both of these are correct. Just know that my answer key is going to leave that last number in an improper form if you get a fraction there. So how do you check that? Just take your calculator and do 9 divided by 2 and see if you get the same answer. Take the number in the answer key, do the division, and see if you get the same number you got on your paper. If you do, that's how you know you got it correct. All right, at this point, if you're feeling confident enough that you could get started on the assignment, here's what it is right here, page 223, numbers 7 through 9, and numbers 28 through 35. Be sure that you correct using my textbook, and then turn it in. If you make sure if you've got any questions at all before you turn it in, be sure to ask me so I can help you with it. So if you're ready to start the assignment, write it down. I would pause the video here because I'm going to go on to a third example. Okay, if you'd like to see a third example, here's a third example, and I'm also putting another fraction in this, and you can take a look. Sometimes this will happen with our fractions too. The fraction actually kind of takes care of itself and actually goes away in a third term. When you do the 2/3 times the 12 here, that's what you're going to see. So let's take a look at that. So we start by distributing. I will write down y minus 3 on the left side of the equation. I am not working with that. Equals 2/3 times x. I'll write 2/3 and x. And I do my numerator of 2 times 12. So 2 times 12 is 24. So I have minus 24 over 3. What is 24 over 3? This one is not like the last fraction I did where I couldn't change it. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So I'm just going to rewrite that, and that fraction will go away. It's going to help me make the rest of my work easier. So I have 2/3 x, and it will be minus 8. And now I can get y by itself. So I will add 3 to both sides. And adding 3 to both sides when I do that. So I'll have plus 3 and plus 3. So to finish off the equation, y equals 2/3 x, negative 8 plus 3, minus 5. And since y is now solved by itself, I now have an equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, that's it for examples on this video. Make sure that you work on that assignment, numbers 22, 23, 7 through 9, 28 to 35. Please correct it and turn it in when you get done. Be sure to ask me any questions. Thanks.